Dunkin' is putting a whole new spin on pumpkin at Dunkin' with our new pumpkin cream cold brew. Smooth, bold cold brew topped with velvety pumpkin cream cold foam made with cinnamon and nutmeg spices. And there's more pumpkin for you to love, like the delicious fall classic, our pumpkin spice signature latte. Rich espresso topped with whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and cinnamon sugar. That's how we pumpkin at Dunkin'. Sip into the fall season with the $3 medium pumpkin cream cold brew or pumpkin spice signature latte. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusion apply. Valid on pumpkin spice signature latte only in all cold foam cold brew.
Hey everybody, my name is Justin.
And I'm Eric.
And we are Truth Radio, broadcasting at you live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the one and only Blog Talk Radio. Just wanted to get these things out of the way real quick before we get started. You can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on Twitter. You can also find us on Tumblr right now, as well as LinkedIn. Just type Truth Radio, and you'll find us. There's just way too many links to read out here. You can also email at paratruthradio@gmail.com. If you guys ever have any questions whatsoever, any guest requests or guest suggestions, go ahead and hit us up on there. You also hop into our chat room and give us questions for our guest. And you can also call in at 914-405-5558 and to talk to us that way. We also have a huge thing going on today. We're having a giveaway contest for our decorative Eddie the Bigfoot Paragraph plate. If you're interested in that, we'll be at one show, and we'll be giving that away to one lucky listener. How's your week been there, Mister?
It's been all right so far. It feels kind of weird because I don't know if I told you, but this past week I work since we leave for school and all next week.
Oh.
So it feels kind of weird that I'm not going to be working for the next 3.5 months after 10 years of working steadily. It's like,
Well, it's going to be a good one for you, especially getting back into what you originally started.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. It should be pretty fun and interesting. Got a lot of work ahead of me, though, within the next week here.
Right.
Still haven't packed anything yet.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, Eric actually started school for cinematography, and he eventually went into what's the studies for Parrish?
It was called just religious arts. It's basically an associate's degree in religion and allows you to work within the Christian history. So.
And now he's going back to his roots of.
Yeah.
So tonight, we've got a great guest on. We've got Jody Cook. Jody, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Jody. For those of our listeners who haven't heard of you or heard of any of your books, why don't you give us a little breakdown of who you
are? Well, I've been doing Bigfoot research and cryptozoology research for about 25 years. I've written several books on Bigfoot in Ohio, basically. I did a book called The Beginner's Guide to Bigfoot Research, which is, it's basically teaches you, I hate to use that word, but kind of gets you along more or less on how to do Bigfoot research, because we do things a little bit different than what the people in the paranormal field, does. Our equipment's a lot different and things like that. So basically, it's just it's basic common sense stuff on how to talk to a witness, how to do a report when you talk to a witness, what to look for when you're in the field doing an investigation, what type of equipment to use, how the proper way of making a cast, which is there really is no proper way, but some of the best techniques to do it. Things just basic common sense stuff to use out in the field. I've written a book called Winged Entities. It's a case book of different sightings across the United States and around the world on winged creatures like your Mothman type creatures, Jersey Devil, gargoyle type things, thunderbirds, any type of creature that had a wing, wings to it. And it's a pretty good case book. There's a lot of good information in there. They're just small little stories, about the date, the location, and basically what happened. There's no pictures in it. It's just basically you got to read it. So I did another book called Humanoid Encounters, which is it's a 2-part book, and that basically deals with anything that was a humanoid type creature, either if it was a ghost or Bigfoot, the lizard man, or an alien, whatever, anything that appeared to someone in a humanoid image and stuff. So did 1 and 2 series on that one, and those are case books also, which is location, where it was and a little bit about it and stuff. And I did one Cryptid Ohio, about all the different cryptids in Ohio. And I'm just finishing up on one called the Mothman Case Book, which is just dealing with Mothman sightings in Middle America.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. And I put out a magazine called Cryptid Seekers Magazine, which is just a lot of cryptid stuff. So it's a hobby. So. Yeah.
Well, I've followed you since I interviewed you on my other Site Radio, mostly because Bigfoot, then a little bit than I am now, and I'm originally from Ohio, and you're from Ohio, so it kind of piqued my interest a lot. Why did you concentrate more on the Bigfoot compared to cryptids when you first started researching?
Okay, you're breaking up like really bad and stuff. I think what you were saying, why was I doing more on the Bigfoot than the cryptid stuff?
Yes.
Okay. I was doing Bigfoot stuff for a long time. Before I did the Bigfoot stuff, I was a UFO investigator, did a lot of UFO stuff for quite a few years. And just doing the Bigfoot stuff, I found it really interesting. It's kind of an addicted subject to get into, because there's just so much stuff, about it, and it's so fascinating. And throughout the years, you get different cryptid sightings. Because when you're on an investigation, someone wants to tell you about another type of cryptid sighting that they had, and so I started to do a little bit more of the cryptid stuff. Another thing in Ohio where we have a lot of sightings of is what we call Dogman, which is like a werewolf type creature, and Ohio has a lot of sightings. And actually, I wrote a book on werewolves, and I'm finishing up on one on the Dogman stuff, and it's an interesting hobby, and it's just like it's all part of cryptozoology, so you kind of, you can't do one without the other. I mean, it's really hard, for a lot of, researchers just to stick to one subject. You got some out there that's like diehard Bigfoot investigators, and they don't want to touch anything else, and, that's fine, but, you can't ignore the other stuff that's popping up in front of you,
Right.
So. But that's basically it. I mean, I find it fascinating. It's really really fascinating.
Now, of your research, has anyone come forward with significant documentation of any of these creatures? I know, like, often when you're watching television shows, like on Destination America, for example, and a number of other different shows, there's eyewitnesses that claim to have video evidence, but none of the video evidence actually clear per se. It's always fuzzy, always a little distorted. I mean, have you come across anything that's somewhat significantly?
Yeah, I mean, not. I can't really say it's really die-hard evidence. I mean, I was on an investigation, and I was doing my investigation in the town I was in. I was able to talk to a couple of different people, and I was ended up talking to this older couple. At the time, they were probably in their late 60s, early 70s, and they go, "Well, I want to show you something." And we went back, to their house, and they pull out this like 16 millimeter film, and hooked it up to the projector and stuff, and they put the white sheet up on the wall and things, and and they said this was back in the early 60s, and it was here in Ohio, and the husband was driving, and the wife was or not videotape, but filming them, and he's making all these faces, and just they're just having a good old time, with this 16 millimeter camera, and they go to where this railroad crossing was, and he pulls up, and in fact, like all the cars died and stuff, and you see her touching her his shoulder, pointing, turn around. He's like, what? Like, I guess there's a train coming and stuff, and he wouldn't turn around, and finally he turns around, and I mean, has a Bigfoot. It was coming down the railroad tracks, and I mean, it was the most beautiful piece of evidence I've ever seen. I mean, it was black and white, 16 millimeter, but I mean, you could see it clear as day, and it was just standing there on the tracks, and they hauled right off. They gunned it right off the tracks there, and because where they were pulling in, it was one of these small little roads, and it was like cut through like a two hillsides maybe. The best way to describe it, because with the tracks, there was hills on both sides of the tracks.
Okay.
So but it was walking down the tracks there, but they didn't want to give it up. They didn't want to show it to anybody. They felt that they would be laughed at and golfed at and things like that. And
right.
I mean, I tried everything to get to get it from them, and they wouldn't. And that was the best piece of, I can say, evidence I've ever seen. Of a true Bigfoot. I mean, it really made the Patterson film, and I tell people this, it really made the Patterson film look like, crap, compared to, I mean, to this thing. The only other hardcore stuff I've got is, I wrote the FBI under the Freedom of Information about Bigfoot, because I was a deputy sheriff for a few years, and I knew some guys with the FBI, and I was talking to them. They kind of joked about it, that these documents exist and stuff. So I wrote them under the Freedom of Information Act, and lo and behold, they've got documentation on it. They sent me like 28 copies of just garbage, blacked out garbage stuff. But there's 2,000 plus documents that are still considered classified with the FBI on the subject of Bigfoot. Now, is the FBI looking for Bigfoot? No, they're not. The reason why they're classified, either that there was an investigation going on by the FBI, and an FBI agent being a thorough individual, when he does a report, he documents everything he sees. They don't leave anything out. So they could have seen one. They could have ran across one. It could have happened on government land. Anything. It was just something that was put into a report to either, the agents are still are doing undercover work, and you can't release it because it gives the name of the agent for his safety, things like that. Just things I understand, you can basically understand, but that is about the only hardcore evidence I think I've ever, besides that film that I saw about Bigfoot.
Okay.
But there's the odd thing about the file is they come in what they call serials. Okay, serial 1, serial 2, serial 3, and that's what the FBI calls a file. They call them serials, And in this particular files, number 4 was missing. I mean, they sent me stuff from Serial 1, Serial 2, Serial 3, and things, just like little odds and end pieces of garbage. But Serial 4 was, they said, was completely missing. They said there was, it might have accidentally got, sterilized. I mean, they just came up with some real bogus stuff why this whole file was missing. And to me, there's something in that file. And what I believe that was in serial number 4 was there was an incident that took place in Smoky Mountains back in 67 or 68. I can't remember off the top of my head. By a little boy by the name of Dennis Lloyd Martin came up missing in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. And what happened was the little boy ran off with 2 other little boys in the campgrounds to go play. The 2 little boys come back without the Martin child. And the father's like, "Where's my son?" And he said, "Well, he went into the woods and he never came out. They tried looking for him and stuff, and they couldn't find him, so they came back, to tell him what was going on." And so the father ran like about 2 miles into the woods looking for his kid and couldn't find his child. So they call the Rangers. The Rangers, get a search and rescue team to go out there and look. And right at the time that the kids were running back to tell the parents what was happening, there was a mother and a father and a daughter was in a different location of the park, just on a trail, and they seen what they say was a Bigfoot running up the hill with a child on its shoulders, a little boy. Wow. Now, the FBI, because of a missing child, the FBI was called in. Now, when the FBI interviewed a lot of people, they interviewed that particular family, but the FBI failed to tell the parents of the missing child that, this family saw a Bigfoot with a little boy that matched the description of his son. And so the father basically found out that, there was an eyewitness to it, and he went to the FBI, and the FBI told him it was insignificant to the investigation. That's why they never told him. So basically they're saying they blew it off. But the lead FBI agent for that investigation ended up killing himself, which is kind of strange.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. He ended up killing himself. But, when the FBI sent in a mic force from the Special Forces. At the time, they were called Green Berets. The United States military never called Special Forces until the late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
Is when they went with the name, and that's when they started wearing the rocker, Special Forces. And from there on, they were always known as Green Berets. Well, this Green Beret task force comes in, full battle rattle, weapons and ammunition stuff, and, they're going out looking for this kid, which, for one, it's against the law for U.S. forces to participate in something like that unless it's a national emergency, especially being in the field with weapons. And the Special Forces would not allow the Park District search and rescue team to go out into the field at all to search for this kid. They did everything. So they were out there for about a week and then came back in. And whatever information they had or whatever, no one knows about it. So
right.
So I mean, it's a very interesting case. Till this day, there's still a $2,500 reward for the whereabouts or anybody knows anything about the missing child.
Wow.
By the FBI.
Right.
So I mean, there's a lot of, and so that particular file should have been in the stuff that I wanted for a Freedom of Information Act. So it should have been there. So I'm thinking it was in serial number 4, and they weren't going to give that up. They just said, well,
Right.
the file accidentally got sterilized, or it's still part of that 2,000 classified documents. So there's something to it because, like you said, there's a lot of odd stuff that's going on with that case. The
Right.
FBI told the family they're not to talk to. The two families were not allowed to talk to each other. I mean, it's just a lot of weird stuff,
Yeah. Right.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to take our first break, so hold on there with us, Jody. Folks, you're listening to Paratruth Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. We're going to have Eric's Random Fact of the Day and a little bit of music, and we'll be right back.
Now, Eric's Random Fact of the Day.
Did you know that Galileo Galilei is often incorrectly credited with the invention of the telescope? After some newer evidence, historians now believe that the Dutch eyeglass maker, Johannes Lippershey, is the original creator of the optical instrument. However, Galileo still gets the credit for being the first person to use the historic device to study the heavens.
This was Eric's Random Fact of the Day.
All right, folks, welcome back to Paratruth Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. That was early cleared by the Upside Down. I do have to encourage you guys that we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are also on Tumblr, we're also on LinkedIn. Check us out on all of those sites. You can also find us at paratruthradio@gmail.com if you guys ever have any questions, any concerns, any guest suggestions. We are very open to anything. You also can call us at our guest call-in number during our live shows at 914-205-5558. You can also hop in our chat, and that phone number is going to be very important just before the next break to do our giveaway. So stay tuned for that for when we announce it. Mm-hmm. We've been talking to Jody Cook. Jody, are you still with us?
Yep, I'm still here.
All right. Go ahead, Eric.
All right. Now, I just read on NBM Entertainment that you used to be a member of the Cincinnati UFO Research Group, ASK, correct?
Yeah.
Now, this is my question, and this is something I've noticed has come up a lot between people who study UFOs and people who study cryptids. And one of the beliefs is the possibility that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Grassman are actually extraterrestrial beings, and that's why it's hard to find these creatures, much harder than it is, I should say that no one's actually captured one, but people think that they're aliens of some sort. And what is your thought on that?
I did UFO research for about 5 years, and we had our own public access TV show, and this was before cable and stuff came out. Well, I can't say it's before cable because cable was out, but a lot of people were doing a lot of stuff on public access TV.
Right.
And we had a live TV show that we did like the first Wednesday of every month, and we always had someone on the show you could call in and stuff, and we were getting a lot of Bigfoot sightings, from the show. And that was why I kind of got into the Bigfoot stuff. Me personally, I do not think that there's a Bigfoot UFO connection. I think it's all coincidental, It's just something that happened at the same time. I won't touch a Bigfoot report or do an investigation where a UFO is involved, And the reason why I say that is, let me see. I mean, the possibility, of a connection, there could be something there, but I don't believe they're extraterrestrial. I don't believe that they're, convicts from some planet that's dumped off to Earth. I just think if there's any connection to them, it's because they're being abducted too.
Hey, do you love a good story? Great. Then you got to check out the #Storytime podcast. Each episode brings you the craziest, creepiest, and cringiest stories from YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, and beyond.
I'm going to die. Chad could already be dead, or either he was smart and didn't come down anyways.
So at a quick glance, when I was turning off the light, I saw this thing in my kitchen, and it was kind of peeping out over to me.
Question is, name something that everyone knows the size of on their body.
Look, the internet is a dumpster full of stories, and I, your host, Will McFadden, dive in head first, sift through the flaming trash, and bring you nothing but treasures.
I was like, oh, right. That would be a really bad way to tell somebody that their brother died.
I swear this happened in slow motion. The champagne flute fell into the lap of Halle Berry, completely drenching her.
Listen to all 21 episodes of #Storytime now on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Has it been a while since you flipped that thermostat from heat to cool? Turn to the experts at Griffith Energy Services before you do for an $88 AC start-in check to make sure your AC is in tip-top shape. Griffith specializes in Carrier, but services all brands. Visit GriffithEnergyServices.com today. Your local Carrier expert. That's GriffithEnergyServices.com. License number MDHVACR 01-2278.
Griffith Energy Services. Doggone dependable.
Okay.
That is the only connection I think when it comes to UFO and Bigfoot, is that they're being abducted and they're getting, experiments done on them, or they're abducting them and using them for, some type of heavy labor or something like that. Mind control, maybe their minds are weak, the thing about Bigfoot, I believe they have common sense, but I don't think they have intelligence. Okay. Obviously, extraterrestrials have intelligence. Okay. So, but that's my only belief in the two of the connection. I get it a lot. I talk to a lot of people. I mean, I just did for like the first issue of Crypto Seekers magazine. There was an article in there about UFO Bigfoot connection. That someone wrote for the magazine, which was pretty good. He kind of made, the same sense what I was talking about. That they may be getting abducted too, and that's why you see a Bigfoot with a UFO. Now I've talked to people that swear that they seen a UFO and the door opens and here comes a Bigfoot out, and stuff. But like I said, I just have a hard time believing that, these things are aliens,
right.
and things. I mean, I really believe they're flesh and blood, creature. They're an ape, that's part man, and there's something that was always here, So.
So, in your opinion, why have we not caught one alive yet, or even remains of one?
Well, the whole thing, Mother Nature cleans up after herself. If she didn't, there'd be piles of bones all over the place. Okay.
Right.
2, you have to look at the environment. Okay. Bones only stay preserved if they're buried in the ground. Okay. Or if they're buried in a dry environment like the desert.
Right.
Okay. Now, in natural forests, when something dies, within a week it's gone. Every little critter out there, even porcupines and raccoons, they'll eat teeth. They'll chew a knob on the bone to get the marrow out of the bone. And stuff. So, and the body gets scattered. And through time, through the weather and the environment, it breaks it all down, and that's part of the reason why we don't find anything. But I think, my belief is I think they bury their dead. I think I think they have enough common sense, and I think they have feelings like we do, that when a loved one is lost, to make sure that scavengers don't eat it, they bury it. And I really believe that, but as far as, why we haven't found any, if I had $1 million to just to lay down on the table and say, I guarantee inside the Smithsonian Institute, there's partial remains of one. Okay. I would lay $1 million on the table to say that, because the thing about the Smithsonian Institute, they're still today documenting stuff from paper to the computers, and it's going to take them a very, very long time to get it done. And they only put out a specimen if they have more than one. So they have a lot more stuff that's in crates and packed up under, stairwell, that it's only one specimen, and they won't put it out until, they get a second one to put out. And honestly, when I talk to the Smithsonian, a lot of these curators are saying their stuff there, they don't even know what's there, and things, and that, and I mean, because there's just so much stuff. I mean, the Smithsonian Institute is like levels and levels and levels and levels underground, parts, I mean, where they store everything, and I mean, the Smithsonian is just so huge, And like I said, the possibility of I mean, you have to think about when they started collecting specimens, the Smithsonian did, and what they got from a lot of their stuff they got from private collectors, things like that, and stuff, and it's surprising, what you may find there, and like they said, there's just so much stuff they just don't know what's all there. That's why they're cataloging everything. It's going to take them a long time to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Well, like for the live ones though, are they just that elusive that we're not coming across them enough to catch a live one, or?
Well, the thing of it is, one thing I tell people about Bigfoot research is, if you go out looking for it, you're not going to find it. Okay. You're only, it's going to be by accident. It really is. Now, my sighting that I had, I was in the Army. I had 3 other guys with me, and, we were probably within 12 to 15 feet of it.
Okay.
And he blended in with the environment. Completely blended in. And if he would not have moved, we would have never seen him. We would have went right past him. And the fact that he moved was what caught our eyes. We thought a tree was coming down, coming down on us. He was that big, and that's the thing. It's like you're out in the woods, and then a deer runs out in front of you, and, because it was there the whole time. You just never saw it. He just blended in with the environment until you got close enough to him. He got spooked, and that's happened to people, who are out in the woods and things like that. The thing about the woods is just, your eye only see how can I say it? Your eye will train on something that's familiar, a body shape, face, or things like that. And, if you're out in the woods just looking around and you don't see it, your eye don't catches it, you're not going to get it. And because there's so much stuff in the woods, trees, leaves, branches, bushes and stuff like that. It takes time for your eyes to focus on it, especially when you're moving. And if you're not going to be, if you're not staring at one object and then moving to another and then moving to another, your eyes, you're not going to catch what's there. And that's the biggest thing. Now, as far as why we've never gotten one, me personally, I think our government has one or has more than one.
Okay.
I really believe they do. I believe somewhere out there is a insulation that. You ever seen the movie Iceman Cometh?
I have not.
I don't think I have either.
Where what it was, this government agency, they found a caveman, frozen in ice. They brought him back to life, and they had him in this, this facility that was shaped like a forest. It had a running water, it had a cave, it had trees and everything. They would put, animals in there for them to hunt and things like that. It was a really interesting, story. But I really believe our government has something like that set up where they have these creatures in there, and they're studying them,
That's a good.
It sounds far fetched. It really does. But you gotta understand. You gotta understand our government, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm pro-American and I love my country. I spent 20 years in the Army. I fought in Iraq. I'm pro-Constitution, but I just don't trust my government. Okay, and and things, and for them to have, I wouldn't put it past them.
Okay. Well, I am kind of with you there. I love being an American, but I think our government hides a lot from us.
Well, the biggest thing, and when I was doing UFOs, You know, we dealt with a lot of abductees, you know, that were coming on the show talking. And I am a firm believer that our government, you know, let these extraterrestrials abduct people on the return for military technology, engineering technology, medical technology, whatever. You know, just give us this and pick up who you want and do what you want. Just don't kill them. You know, and I believe that. You know, I can see any government would do that. You know, but you know, I really believe our government did. You know, did do that. Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, to me, anything is a possibility. So that could be one huge possibility for as much technology advancements as we've had in the past, say, 10 years. So. Yeah,
exactly. Well, you think about the 1960s. Okay, you know, the space race. You know, look how fast technology went. Look at transistors. You know, night vision, things like that. Things that I mean, we moved extremely fast. You know, here we are. You know, we went to the moon. You know, which I don't believe it ever happened. But you know, but you know, look at our space technology now. You know, why we never went to the moon? You know, or go back to the moon. You know? So, but you know, we you know, we got technology somewhere.
Right.
You know. So we got it somewhere.
Yeah. I think we're going to take our last break here, Jody, so stick with us. We'll be right back. Folks, you're listening to Paratruth Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. We are opening up the Truth Lines. That's what I'm going to start calling them, the Truth Lines.
Nice.
914-205-5558. And caller number, who do you want, Eric?
Let's see, number 3.
All right, caller number 3 will get the decorative plates that we are giving away. If you don't win the first time, just keep calling back, and when we get caller number 3, we will announce that winner on air. And we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Hello everybody, Sublimely Elegant here as always, and guess what? I know you. Well, no, we've never met, but I do know you. I know you love Minecraft. I know you love the internet. Now I also happen to know you love colorful language. So instead of moping around all day, why don't you head on over to my channel and satiate your deepest needs. YouTube.com/Sublimely Elegant.
Oh. Now I want to grab the Nintendo and start playing. Jeez.
Welcome back, folks, to Paratruth Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. Well, that game over sound means, unfortunately, we did not have a winner. So next week, we'll try giving our decorative plate of Eddie the Bigfoot away again. To all of our podcast listeners, definitely tune in live next week, so that way you guys have a chance at winning that. Our phone number, as always, is 914-205-5558. And you can also get in our chat and hit us up, and we'll always be announcing stuff on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Tumblr, all those good things. We've had Jody Cook on the line. Jody, you still with us?
Yeah, definitely here.
All right, Jody. Before we wrap it up, I just wanted to give everybody all the information where to find you and all of that. So where can people find you?
The best way right now is Facebook. I'm getting a new website up.
Okay.
So they can just look for me on Facebook is the best thing. They either my name or they can look for Cryptid Seekers Magazine on Facebook, and they can contact me through there. Okay. My books can be found on Amazon.com. The magazine they can find, there's a link on Cryptid Seekers Magazine Facebook webpage on getting the magazine. It's a company called MagCloud. It's where a lot of paranormal magazines are. A lot of people who do paranormal stuff, they can find it on there. So that's like the best way right now to try and get a hold of me. So, and I'll be speaking this year at the Mothman Festival, September 20th and 21st also.
And is that in Ohio this year?
No, it's in West Virginia.
In West Virginia? Oh, okay.
Point Pleasant.
It's on either one sometimes because, or it could have been on either one because that's where it happened. The big one.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, Gallipolis. It's just right across the river there. So everybody is staying on the Ohio side in the hotels and going into the. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, one question I had really quick before we let you go is if Bigfoot is real, and I'm a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to Bigfoot, why are so many people out there hoaxing?
You know what? They're idiots. I mean, you know, that's the plain thing. They're just idiots. See, everybody thinks that, you know. No, I'm serious. You know, there's no money to be made in this field. Okay.
Yeah.
There isn't, and there people think that's how they're going to make a buck. You know, and then you got people out there who just are, you know, they do it for attention, nothing more. You know, and that's why they do what they're doing. You know, it's just, you know, there's a guy that's been hoaxing stuff for, you know, for years. You know, and the guy's making, you know, he is making money off it, but he just got himself in trouble, you know, through the law because he's charging people to, you know, to see a Bigfoot that doesn't exist.
Right.
You know, a body is what I'm meaning.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but you got to look at it this way. You know, you look at, you know, Destination America. You know, they got Mountain Monsters, which is a fake show. I mean, you know, they're coming out with a new one called Monsters Underground. You know, which they got a Bigfoot researcher, you know, whose credibility is, you know, in the field is very questionable. I don't know the guy. I've never met the guy. I'm just going by what I'm hearing from other researchers, you know, and, you know, that show is no more going to be no different from Mountain Monsters, which is, you know, the thing of it is, you know, they've been no documentation whatsoever of reports or sightings of a cryptid underground, you know, living in caves and things like that. It's always been suggested, you know, so and then you have the show Cryptid, that's through the History Channel, which is, you know, paid. These guys are paid actors. It's a, you know, there's nothing real about it. You know, Finding Bigfoot. I mean, you know, there's just there's nothing real about these shows, and you know, so that's the thing. You know, it's just if TV's hoaxing, you know, why not you? It's no different. I mean, the legitimacy of this field has really gone downhill.
Yeah.
And it's happening in the paranormal field. Well, you heard about Aaron getting fired from, what was that team he was on? I can't think of it real quick. It's on like Friday nights, Ghost Adventures. You know.
Oh, he got fired from there.
He got fired from the show because he was on a radio show giving an interview, and he did a 20-minute rant about, Travel Channel basically faking the stuff, because, they're adding stuff in that's not real, and stuff. And he was just being honest. I mean, right. There's just no legitimacy anymore. So.
Right. All right. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. It's been a pleasure and an honor having you on.
Hey, no problem. Anytime, brother.
All right. You have yourself a good night, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, anytime. You guys have a good one.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.
All right, folks. That was Jody Cook. He's the resident Ohio Bigfoot expert, and probably one of the better guests that we've had on since we started Paratruth, just because he's obviously very honest and believes very passionately that there is a Bigfoot. I still don't know if that has convinced me at all of
not so much.
And but he does have a point. Just like Bigfoot, the paranormal field has kind of gone downhill with all the TV shows. Any of the reality shows, as they call them, because it's not reality in my definition.
There's no such thing as a reality show.
Has just kind of warped people's perception of everything.
Right.
So, well,
it's the entertainment world, and that's all it is.
Right. They're not going to get ratings if they don't have something happen.
Right.
So, well, folks, I did want to announce really fast before we go off air in just a few minutes that Chris O'Brien will be on the show next week. There was some complications, so that's why the show got canceled last week. And he will be a good guest. He's the author of Stalking the Herd. It's about the cow mutilations that happened back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And apparently, I won't get into the book, but it happened more times than that. And we'll also be giving away our decorative plate of Eddie the Bigfoot hugging the Paratruth logo.
Because everybody loves Paratruth.
Everybody loves Paratruth, and there's quite a few people that love Bigfoot. I mean, I love Paratruth, so everybody else has to love Paratruth.
Well, if Bigfoot loves Paratruth, then of course everyone loves Paratruth.
Right. So any of you that listen to our podcast, please listen live next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be giving that away live on air, 914-205-5558, and you'll probably hear that phone number 100 more times
probably
before that plate is given away. As always, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. And now you can find us on Tumblr, and you can find us on LinkedIn. And if we're ever on air and you want to hop into our chat, we take questions for ourselves and the guests that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
And email parasite, I did it again. paratruthradio@gmail.com. So on that note, folks, my name is Justin.
And I'm Eric.
And we are
Paratruth Radio. I had to think about it.
Have a good night, folks.
All right. Peace.
Hey, do you love a good story? Great. Then you got to check out the #Storytime podcast. Each episode brings you the craziest, creepiest, and cringiest stories from YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, and beyond.
My story is about the time that I was broken up with at the 9/11 memorial twice.
Look, the internet is a dumpster full of stories, and I, your host, Will McFadden, dive in head first, sift through the flaming trash, and bring you nothing but treasures. Listen to all 21 episodes of #Storytime now on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Buying a home can feel like navigating uncharted waters. Redfin agents can help. They'll answer your questions with honest advice so you know exactly what you're getting into. They'll also help you tour as many homes as you want and show you what it takes to make a winning offer. With a Redfin agent on your side, you can sail straight to your dream home. Local expertise from Redfin. That's real estate done right. Tour subject to property and agent availability. Virginia Office Falls Church, VA, 844-759-7732.